watching to the Black Eagles podcast, a Beşiktaş talk show.
Ahmet Dursun Sergen aldı. Sergen Bülent yan yana. Sergen Bülent. Sergen. Yanında Tümer var. Tümer'e doğru aksiyon kaybetti. Tümer topu aldı. Sergen aldı. Gol! Gol! Gol! Sergen attı. Sergen attı. Şampiyonluk geldi. Sergen attı. Şampiyonluk geldi.
İbrahim'in pası. Zuma. Şimdi Ahmet. İkinci gole gidiyor Beşiktaş. Ahmet.
Hello, Black Eagles. Welcome back to the Black Eagles podcast. We are coming off of another defeat in the Super League. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we went on a 6-match win streak, something we had forgotten what it felt like. And now we have been brought right back down to earth with what potentially could be a new low point to the end of the season. And as you can see, one of my co-hosts, Kartal, didn't even bother to show up today. He went on a hike instead. No, that was already planned. He unfortunately couldn't make it today. But my other co-host, Sinan Schwarting, is here. Sinan, is this a new low point for Beşiktaş, losing against 9 men of Konyaspor?
Low point. The point itself is quite low. Although, if by low point you mean like the lowest point, I think we've seen lower, I suppose, as far as how certain results or events this season made us feel. But certainly, I mean, this is a low point insofar as I think it's hard for anyone to feel too positive at the moment in that, yeah, it was a terrible result. 2 weeks in a row, we've dropped points against sides that have been a man down or more. So yeah, that stuff is obviously going to be troubling. And I think what we tend to do is try to sort of find a silver lining on things, and I'm sure we can. I mean, certainly yesterday, more than in the Gaziantep match, you could say we should have gotten something out of that match. I mean, at some point, people were talking about how we're cursed because we'd hit the post like 7 times or something. It might have even ended up being more than 7. It was 7 at one point in the second half. And I said, we don't need a winger. We need the Ghostbusters to rid us of the curse. But then, of course, we do need a winger too. So I didn't want my joke to get in the way of the fact that we obviously need some help in terms of chance creation. And I think that was also the story kind of yet again yesterday. All of those shots that hit the post were coming from outside of the box, or a couple of them were just like headers that you would have gone in on another day or whatever. But it's one of those days. I don't
know if I agree with you on that, man. I thought last week, I think if the referee does his job, I think we win that game. And here, I don't think you can say anything about the referee. I think this referee did his job.
Very much. It's a good show by the ref.
Both red cards. Initially he missed the first red card for Meli Bosdan, but VAR came in. It was a correct red card. Right. It was a terrible tackle, and he deserved to get sent off. But I also think you need to take into account up until the moment that they are reduced to 10 men, which is after half an hour or something, we weren't in the game at all. It was all Konyaspor. I feel like from the first minute until that point, this match felt like we aren't going to get anything from this. We were nowhere. And then the mistake from Meli Bosdan happens. And you think, they're down to 10 men now. Let's hope we don't pull a Trabzonspor again, where we also went a man up. And then, of course, as you know, Trabzonspor scored on a set piece. The exact same thing happened.
We've dropped quite a few results in a row now, going a man up. So that's kind of concerning.
Well, I feel like
did you see that stat yesterday? Someone put that up. I think it's like our last 6 games where we've gone a man up, we've lost.
Yeah, I feel like it's traditionally always been an issue for Beşiktaş when the opposition is reduced to 10. I feel like we never demolish or bulldoze them. I feel like we always seem to get into a tougher match than before. And I think
we tend to play down to our opposition, right? This has been a theme for a few years.
I think this game we started terribly. We were terrible before the first red card. We were terrible after.
We were actually much worse before the card. I mean, obviously, right?
Even after,
kind of how it's supposed to go. But
Sinan, I legitimately felt like if a random person tunes into this game and you tell them one of these two teams got a red card and you don't tell them which team, and
oh right, yeah.
I genuinely think that person would have thought we were the team down to 10 men, because after they went down to 10, it was still Konyaspor who had the upper hand, and it was us on the back foot.
Yeah. No, it wasn't until we were 2 men up that we started kind of putting pressure on and getting those shots that were kind of banging off the post and whatnot. But
it was half-assed pressure, though. It was numerical advantage pressure because you have 2 men more, and you're finding space that you wouldn't find even against 10. And then then the shots, like I said, they were coming from outside of the box. I mean, there was the kind of like insult to injury, I guess, was that this might have actually gone unnoticed, but the last chance of the game was like one of the only crosses that was pretty well placed, and it fell to Salih's head, Salih Uçan, and it was one of those scenarios where he was coming in and the ball was coming in and he got the right sort of trajectory, it seemed, and the right power on it, and somehow it just skewed to the left of the post, and it was like a perfect metaphor for the whole thing in that. Yeah.
Even when you do something that looks like it should come off, it's just not. It was one of those days, man. I don't know.
I mean, against 9, we were able to overload their box a little bit, and we get I think Semi had 2 headers, but they were both poor.
One of them was especially poor.
Obviously, against 9 men, you're gonna get some room, and it is almost a miracle that you manage to not get at least a point in this match. It is a miracle in the sense because you're up against 10 men since like minute 25, minute 30, I don't even know,
23 or something, I think.
Yeah, so really early on you're up against 10. Then quite early in the with like 65 minutes or so on the clock, you're up against 9. You have 30, well, you have 20 plus 25, 30 minutes. Let's call it 30 minutes with extra time. You have half an hour against 9
27.
men. Sorry?
Yeah. It was the 27th minute. I just double checked.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And then you have over half an hour, I think, against 9 men. And we don't manage to create a single clear-cut goal-scoring opportunity. They're all crosses. They're all shots from distance. They're all like there's not a single good combination. You are unable to find the free man for 30 minutes. Not a single time you're able to find a free man in 30 minutes, like a proper combination attack. It doesn't exist in this game. And then, like, I think you can't say, like, I think you have to say Konyaspor deserved that win, and we were terrible. And sure. I think this is easily top 3 worst performances of the season. Obviously you have the Maccabi Tel Aviv game. You have this one. Yeah,
that's the one that sticks.
And then you have the Adana Demirspor one. I think those 3 are probably the worst performances of the season. And I would argue this is probably the worst one. Because if you remember against Adana Demirspor, we lost that game. But that's a game, I think, that was a true miracle that it ended. That Demirspor won that, because we still had a good amount of chances in that game.
Their keeper was like...
their keeper
Was
made a lot of
weird.
good saves. We probably should have gotten at least a point from that match, which still would have been a scandal. But we should have gotten at least a point there. Against Maccabi, if we don't miss the penalty, we probably win that game. But this game, from minute 1 to the final minute, and you have a numerical advantage for the vast majority of this match, not a single moment I felt we are going to get something from this match. Definitely not a win. Maybe a point if you're lucky and the ball falls in the right place or something. And really, it was that type of match where as soon as they go down to 9 man, all you need to do is score within the next 10 minutes. A normal team, would score within the next 10 minutes and then would score again because their opponents, they're not going to be able to keep closing the gaps. But for some reason, Konyaspor were able to keep closing the gaps. They were.
They definitely sat back, but that's what you're supposed to do. I mean, when you go down, not just a man, but 2. No, they did everything right. I mean, the time wasting, right? You can't blame them for doing what they had to do. I would like for me, this is like a kind of endemic problem for the sport. Like the idea that, and I joked at halftime. I said we're gonna get like 4 minutes of football in these next 45, and then we're gonna have like 4 minutes of extra time somehow only. And sure enough, I mean that's almost exactly what happened. I think we got like 6 minutes of extra time, but I mean
But whose fault is that?
Slog. No, I mean it's our fault. Like you can't. Again, you can't expect them to do anything other than that. I think I just again and we talked about this last week with punishing goalkeepers more somehow or whatever it might be. But I mean, I would love it if the sport did something about time wasting in general. But that's another conversation for another place. As far as this game goes, Konya did everything that they needed to do to win. I think you're absolutely right to say that they deserve to win. I don't know if I think once they were down to 9 men, you could make the argument that we. Created chances is probably not quite the word. But yeah, we put some shots on goal. We were showing a little bit more impetus. Although, again, it was, and I think as much as I think people might be prone to criticize Masuaku for all of those terrible crosses, there's something that one has to say about the fact that he's the only one brave enough to take on that situation and do something to ask for the ball. There's a lot of guys shying away from it at that stage where we're kind of need to be pressing it. And I don't understand. We're pretty good at passing the ball around and creating movement and making runs off the ball and stuff. And I don't know why it is that when we're down a goal, and it could be with 5 minutes left or it could be 45, the entire second half. It was complete desperation mode. Huck it out to Masuaku, see what he can do with it. And why? Credit to him for being brave enough to do it, but he's clearly not good enough to be doing it. I don't think we've ever seen him create a goal in those situations. So, I mean, I don't know. The lack of a plan was definitely concerning. I don't know what it is that prevents us from, stringing together a few passes and having a guy make a run off the ball and try to break the offside line. There's got to be some impetus, some creativity. I mean, and we've talked about this time and again. Rashica being a complete non-factor in terms of chance creation. We're basically that brings you down to 10 men. And granted, he was sort of covering as a wing back because we were kind of doing that 3-man back line, and he could be okay as a wing back. The problem is that then we have no one up front, and he does not have the capacity to shift into that mode of being attacking. Because what's he going to do? Send a cross into the third row of the stands? He doesn't have it.
Yeah,
he doesn't have it.
There's a lack of responsibility being taken. There's numerous moments where I noticed Rafa was on the ball and he just passed it wide to Masuaku. And, Masuaku then... I don't think Masuaku deserves praise for taking responsibility because at the end of the day, he just does what he always does and he plays the cross merchant. I don't see how that's any different from, say, Caner Erkin in the Abdullah Avci stint.
No. I mean, I think it's almost exactly the same, and I think you can give credit to a guy like Jana for having the confidence to take on the moment, and for if everyone else is kind of averting their eyes and sort of shifting the responsibility to someone else, at least he kind of goes and takes that step up and tries to send in a cross. But just like Jana Erkin, you have Masuaku. Almost every cross is shit. So I mean, it's not much of a plan.
That's not
and I don't know what.
I
mean, it's stepping up. It's just not being good enough.
How is it stepping up? Because he just does the only thing he knows how to do. I think what would be stepping up would be trying to find the combo. Yeah, but I mean,
I just mean relative to the other guys who are just showing no interest. Who are diverting to him, who have basically kind of given him the reins, the keys to the car, because they're all kind of, I don't know if they're afraid of the moment, if they're unwilling to be the one who makes the mistake, because it's Masuaku who makes the mistake every time as an end product of that mentality.
Well,
but so I just mean
it's
a bad cross.
Yeah, but I mean that's also one of those things. I think what we saw in these last two matches, for example with Masuaku, was Masuaku reverting to his factory default settings, going back to the high cross, because we were, for the last couple of weeks, we've been praising Masuaku, and not just Masuaku, also Rashica, I think, for playing it over the ground more and more. And we were saying that was one of the big issues during Serdar Topraktepe's time, during Gio van Bronckhorst's time, and now we were playing it more over the ground, and suddenly we were scoring goals again, and we were finding opportunities. But what we've seen in these last two matches against Gaziantep, and especially now against Konyaspor, is just, it's like somebody pushed...
Reverting back
to exactly. Somebody pushed the reset button, it went back to the factory settings, and now we see these high crosses time and time again, and we don't have any players in our team that are consistent good headers of the ball, consistent good winners of aerial duels offensively. So we don't have a Cenk Tosun anymore, who was good at that. We don't have Wout Weghorst. We don't have Talisca. We don't have players from the past that we used to have that were good in the air. And I feel like that is one of our biggest issue. I mean, we've talked about this many times already, Sinan, where that's a massive issue on offensive set pieces. But also in situations like this, where you kind of have to overload the opposition box, and where you have to find, where it is difficult to find chances from combinations, and you are desperate almost, because, all those crosses from Masuaku and stuff, that's desperation football. That's crossing and inshallah. That's just praying for the cross to find someone. That is not, that is not good play. That's not Masuaku doing a great job. That's just a sheer volume of crosses being put in. And he finds someone 2-3 times out of 20, 30 attempts. I don't know how many crosses he attempted. But
we could look into that.
Yeah, we should look into it. But
I think it was like over 10.
Yeah, probably. And he manages to find someone a few times. The problem is, other than Salih Uçan, who has a couple of headed goals in his career for Beşiktaş, I mean, we can't say Salih Uçan is a specialist. No. Like and
not at all. I mean, clearly not.
Ciro definitely isn't. Simi is I would say Simi is a horrible header of the ball. I know he has
he was terrible yesterday. In Cheeto's defense, I don't even think I've seen much in the way of an attempt. Like, I don't even feel like I've seen a cross find his head, which is more, again, an indictment of the people who've been crossing the ball.
He scored the one against Lugano, if you remember, but that came off but that was after the free kick from Masuaku that splattered on the crossbar.
Right?
And then he headed in the rebound. Just trying to look at Masuaku's numbers here in terms of crosses.
I guess we could probably do the lineup and whatnot, huh?
Yeah, I already showed it off for a bit, but
I saw that. Yeah. All right, so let's talk about Konyaspor. Their goalkeeper was 19 years old, Deniz Ertaş. I didn't even realize he was so young. He was a combination of a goofball, right? He like dropped balls occasionally and they slipped out of his hands, but then like he also made a couple pretty incredible diving saves. Kind of a like what that Adana Demir situation we saw the other
I don't
week.
know if you can. I mean, he made some decent saves, but I think you could
No,
tell.
it wasn't the same extent.
You could tell straight away he's not a good goalkeeper.
No, he's shaky as hell.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, he made good diving
alone,
saves, but then he dropped the ball. Like there was one time he dropped it. He almost dropped it into the goal, which was kind of hilarious. Off of one of those Masuaku, like it turns out it was a shot because it looked like a cross. There was no one else there, and it was on target.
Yeah.
Anyway, their back line, 31-year-old Serbian Marko Jevtovic plays next to Adil Demirbay, 27-year-old Turk, who a name many will recognize. You know, he's been with Konya for a while, I think. Urjan Yazgili, 25-year-old Turk, played next to those two. So they played with according to FotMob, it was a three-man back line. Although up here, Beanspor has Urjan playing next to Adil Demirbay, with Jevtovic playing more in the sixth role. And then they have Guilherme, the 34-year-old Brazilian left midfielder / left wing back. I mean, I guess he's just left midfielder. But then Alassane Ndao, 28-year-old Senegalese right midfielder. And they've got him as a right back on B. And so I guess it's a matter of opinion. Maybe they switched to a three-man back line at some point in the match, so FotMob got thrown off. Anyway, then you've got in their midfield Meli Ibrahimoğlu, 24-year-old Austrian Turk, next to Daniel Aleksic, 33-year-old Serbian, who was pretty active, I would say, for the most part in this match, very involved in their attack, complaining to the refs a lot. They were doing that quite a bit, but you know, that's sort of the standard for the Super League these days.
Yeah, especially after the first red card, they hammed it.
Yeah, they were really fishing. They were fishing for
yeah.
What you expect?
I mean, that's ultimately also why they got their second red card, because Alassane Ndao got really angry after the red card for Meli Bozdan, and got booked and got a yellow card there, and he was dumb because it was a red
frankly
card.
They could have had a few more yellows just for all the complaining they were doing, but I mean, credit to the ref. I think, you know, when you've already sent off two of their men, you got to give them a little grace.
He can't be faulted. So this is 100% on Beşiktaş, not on the referee.
Sure. Anyway, finishing up their lineup, they have, of course, Yusuf Erdoğan, 32-year-old Turk, on the left side, opposite Muhammed Taşçı, the 22-year-old Dutch Turk. And, of course, Meli Bostan, 20-year-old Turk, was up top for a brief moment there, 27 minutes. For us, we had Mert Günok in goal, Gabriel Paulista with his triumphant return. I mean, not so triumphant, sadly. And the shot he took from Meli Bostan, it's a miracle he still has an ankle at all, frankly. It was a nasty tackle.
It was a pretty bad tackle, yeah. And even after the tackle and he gets the yellow card and you see Meli Bosdan kind of go like,
Yeah, he complained at first, but then
it's like, I don't know.
Part of me feels like he was complaining so that they wouldn't look at it, kind of like, go on, hurry up, don't even look at it, because there might have been a realization. Either way, it was sort of petulant. Certainly, it was annoying.
The smirk on his face.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot not to like.
Maybe he kind of knew that he. Maybe he knew he thought to himself, "Oh, I kind of got away with it here. Probably could have gotten the red there."
Mm-hmm. And then was pissed that he was rung up, but to say he deserved it is an understatement. Next to him, Felix Udokai, who there's perhaps the real bad news. Took an injury in the second half, 55th minute, came off. It looked terrible. It was a non-contact injury.
Yeah, he'll be out
torn
for
something.
at least 2 months apparently, so he'll miss pretty much the remainder of the season, and that's a big blow for us because arguably our best defender this season.
Yeah, for sure. And what a pity that, like, you know, the day Paulista comes back, he goes down. You know, it's like it's a bit of a Murphy's Law scenario, I think, at this point with this club. If you want a silver lining, and that's kind of what we typically do with the whole group therapy thing, you could say that there's one benefit to us having stockpiled central defenders for years, which is that, you know, you'll play Emirhan next to Gabriel Paulista, and if Paulista's, you know, not doing great after that ankle chop, you could throw in Tayyip Talha Sanuc, you know. I think we've got Bakhtiar Zainutinov to come back eventually. You know, apparently he's injured. I think he may have been injured on that that header that, like, he gave up the goal, but then it kind of went face first into the ground. I think he's been injured since then, so it's not just that Ole has, like, banished him for that terrible mistake.
No, he's been injured. Emre Can Terzi is actually back in training, I saw the other day.
That's interesting. So maybe that's also not just him being a shitty player. Anyway, on the right side, we saw the Tayyip Talha Sanuc experiment again.
It's him or
he came off,
right?
Yeah. And he came off in the 46th minute. I actually kind of like the experiment in a weird way, and I feel like it's undone, and I sort of alluded to this earlier, by the fact that Rashica is the guy who comes back and plays as a right wing back, because he doesn't. Right, you can't shift lines if part of the line is just incapable of making the shift, which is I mean, I just don't know, what do you do with a winger who can't cross the ball? It's a quandary. I mean, and João Mario is, like, not a great crosser of the ball, but he does so much other stuff. And, like, what does Rashica do that would? Anyway, I feel like I'm bagging on this guy a lot lately, and I was one of his defenders for the longest time when you were bagging on him, but I've done like a full 180 on that. I can't, like, I can hardly watch him play anymore.
I mean, for me, he's I don't want to say useless player because he has his moments sometimes. Like, he'll play the odd good game, but he's well
on his way.
If he plays 10 matches, I think
there.
If he plays 10 matches, he's shit 4 matches. He's so 3 matches, and then he's decent 2 matches, and 1 match he's great.
Yeah,
like that's not a good average, you know.
And how do you account for that? Is it mentality, right? Like,
Ability.
What's wrong with this guy? Why is, like, if he shows the capacity to do it, so is it just shit luck? Like, sometimes he's just
not good enough.
Gets lucky touches.
Yeah.
Like, what accounts for the good?
I think
days,
technically,
like the 1 in 10.
I think he technically isn't a very good football player, to be quite frank. I don't think he's a particularly good. He's not a particularly good crosser of the ball. He's not a particularly. He's not a good dribbler.
And he's not slow, but he's not especially fast.
He's not fast at all. He's a decent passer, and he has a decent shot. So it's like he's a winger, you know. Like, what are the 3 boxes that a good winger need? Like, if you, let's say you have to check multiple boxes for a winger. Yeah, sorry, somebody called me there.
No, it's right.
Crossing is one of them. Speed is another.
Crossing,
and dribbling is
pace,
another. No, those are 3
those are like the top
really
3 probably.
good. Yeah, the top 3, and then maybe you can argue shooting is the 4th, right? So if you have 4
or short passing, I don't know.
4, let's call those. Let's say those 4 are the key abilities you're looking for in most wingers. He checks 1 box. And that's shooting. And all other 3 boxes it's a big red cross. So he's not a good winger. And
even, like, when you think of those shots, like, so he's had those long shots that seem pretty decent, but I would say maybe like 1 of 5 of them have come off. So it's not like it's just like a masterful shot either. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm being rough. Anyway, let me finish up this lineup so we can switch the screen here. Masuaku played on the left side. You know, his usual game. It's interesting. FOTMOB rated him very highly. I don't know how they could have. The center of the midfield, we had Ox, who came off in the 67th minute for for, I want to say, Kenny Arroyo, I think it was. And Jedson Fernandes, who played next to him. Jedson Fernandes also given a high rating. He was also solid. I'd like to say that yesterday was the first match where I really felt like Ox didn't play especially poorly. And I'm sure I'm going to get some shit for that in the comments. Maybe.
He didn't do anything.
He didn't do anything, though, exactly. And it was the first day where I really felt like if we had the Moose back there to allow Jedson to kind of cause more havoc in the midfield and like make some of those runs, we would have really benefited.
Musrati would have sank with the ship. 100%.
Probably.
Because he's not the type to step up.
But the fact that the only other option was Amir Hadziometrovic rather than the Moose was like, okay, there's actually we've got nothing to really hope for, as far as like a plan B.
Sinan, I think a very common theme is Jedson. I think as Beşiktaş, we need to hope that Jedson doesn't have a game in which you say, oh, he was good today. Because usually when we say that, it means that he is one of those players, one of the very few players that's gonna try to step up and take responsibility. And I feel like every shit game that we play, every bad match Beşiktaş play, Jedson is usually the one guy where you're like, yeah, he was decent today. And that's usually because Jedson is the guy, when everyone else switches off, he's the guy that's trying something. And the last couple of weeks we were
he had, I would say, 3 shots saves from distance, but they were the best shots that we got. I think one of them hit the post
as well. He's playing as the 6 now. So we were talking about recently how people were asking, but Jedson, we're not seeing so much of Jedson anymore. Well, first and foremost, he's playing as the 6, and second, we were creating a lot of chances because João Mario was on fire, Rafa was on fire, Rashica was doing some stuff. So
he had one of the good games.
Yeah, we didn't need to rely on Jedson. I think it's very bad when you have to rely on Jedson for creating chances, whether it's long shots or whatever. And I feel like that just harkens back again to the Giovanni Van Bronckhorst time this season, to the Serdar time this season. Very often in those bad matches we played under them, it was it was Jedson taking responsibility. And I feel like these last 2 matches, because against Antep as well, that Jedson was, the only player maybe from the midfield and the front 3. Chiro had a decent game against Antep, but he was the player where you'd give him a pass. The rest of the team, you're like, oh, they were shit today, but we'll give Jedson a pass. And I kind of feel like this Konya game is the same, where Jetson's probably the only player from the starting 11. Not counting Mert Felix, but the only player from the starting 11 where you're like, we'll give him a pass for this performance because he was okay. Everyone else was dog shit, including the most important
João
guy,
Mario?
Rafa. Sorry?
João Mario was okay before he came off,
I don't think so, because why does Ole take him off at halftime?
I mean, I don't know. He's been doing that a little too easily, in my opinion.
I mean, I would have left
systemically, but
I would have left João Mario on, and I would have taken Ox off because I think Ox didn't do anything in this game.
Also, Rashica stayed on.
Rashica, what I don't.
He came off in the 80th minute.
Rashica. What I don't understand, Sinan, is why is Mucci coming on?
Yeah.
Why not Arroyo?
Well, Kenny.
Arroyo
I would have put Kenny on.
Away.
Yeah, instead of taking João Mario off, I would have taken Rashica off for Kenny. Frankly, I'd be starting Kenny over Rashica, but that, that's my new stance.
Yeah.
Real quickly, because I don't want to lose track of that thought I just had. Speaking of Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, for all the people who were willing to kind of like completely trash his tenure with us, this should be a stark reminder of what any coach who comes here will be up against, in that, Ole was doing fantastically, Jonas Svensson goes down, and now we're losing 2 games despite being a man or 2 up in both of them. And I think you see, perhaps most of all, the lack of depth and how that can screw up any manager's plan at this point. Just given how profound the lack of depth is with
That
this
should
team.
not be an excuse to lose against 10 and 9 men.
I mean, no, it shouldn't, but it's what's happened. And I think when you look at
Yeah, but I think
how it's happened
that's-
and like how the form has dipped in
it
these
says
last two
more
matches,
about
right?
the
It certainly
the
correlates
players.
with Jonas Svensson. Of course. No, well, I mean, of course it does. But when you look at that lack of depth, right, and you look at the changes that we make, I mean, look at that starting lineup. It doesn't look bad enough to warrant what happened on the pitch, right? I'm not
No,
making
of course
excuses
not.
for those players by any
This
stretch.
is-
But
this
I
is
also,
one of-
I mean, I don't think you're probably not willing to like fire Ole, right? Like my point is simply that these managers are not being given the tools that they can succeed with, as far as the players that they've been provided.
This Konyaspor side lost 3 players to suspension last week. They were missing 3 starters. Kramer, Umut Nair, and I can't think of the third one. But they were missing 3 players. We're missing 1 player, and suddenly like everything goes out the window. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
It's a terrible performance. Like Chiro, I mean, you know, finish up the lineup. Chiro, I didn't see him. Was nowhere this match.
Yeah. And for the rest of the lineup, real quick, yeah, it was Rashids on the right, Rafa Silva in the middle as a 10, Joao Mario on the left, and Ciro Immobile up top.
And then Simi comes on at halftime, puts in a bat again.
Perhaps his worst performance yet?
Well, I don't
Was
know
that
about
the
that,
worst
but
semi we've seen?
maybe not.
For me, it might have been because like
it wasn't
I've
good.
never seen. I've been disappointed with his performances before in that he didn't provide the spark and the magic and all the stuff that he was doing last year that got us all hyped up. But yesterday was I think the first day where he was doing stuff where I was kind of like physically disgusted, you know, like that header when he turned and like
at least he
spun
got
and just like
yeah, I know, but
like
at least he got on the end of 2 crosses. I think one was a corner maybe, and then the other one was a cross from Masuaku. At least he got on the end of something. I feel like Chiro didn't get on the end of anything in this match. So like
no,
you know,
no, I'm not defending Chiro by any
no,
stretch.
I mean Simi didn't have a good impact. Mucci, I feel like didn't have a good impact. Kenny Arroyo from the subs, I thought was the only one who
He showed some
had
fire
a bit of an
and
impact
desire.
and showed some desire and took responsibility. You know, this 19-year-old kid is out there, you know, picking up the balls, going at the, you know, looking for one-on-ones, trying to find space, trying to create something. It was the second half, it was just Masuaku putting in crosses, playing the cross merchant, and then Kenny Arroyo. And like everyone else was Rafa had a few shots. He had like a Rabona right at the end and stuff like that. Where like
People were pissed off about that one.
I don't know what Rafa like. This was possibly Rafa's worst match for Beşiktaş. I feel like this was a bad game from Rafa, and you know I think that does a lot. If Rafa has a bad game, the entire team is shit. That's also just a
Let's talk
team.
about some of these comments because I feel like a lot of them have been
Yeah.
about what we've started talking about, and it could flavor our conversational. So Finnish Kebab started off before we even went on air. He said that his chronic Beşiktaş headache has returned, and yeah, tell me about it, man.
Yeah, it's
This was a hard one. We're
2
waking
games
up
and
today.
we're back at where we were. This is like one of the titles for this podcast or for this episode I was thinking of was back to square one, because that's kind of what it feels like. And last week, you remember seeing people were saying, "Oh, you know, we've been derailed," and you argued, "No, I mean, you know, we haven't been, you know, we haven't been derailed yet. You know, let's see what happens against Konya." And now it does kind of feel does kind of feel like we've been derailed, like we were, you know, in a very positive flow under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Great start, 1 loss in 9 matches, 6 straight wins, and then all of a sudden all of that seems out of the window. Last week against Antep, and against Antep last week, I feel like there were some, you know, mitigating factors there. I feel like that's a game we could have won. Referee was really bad. But what is the excuse today? What is the excuse in this match? What can we say? Like, there's nothing you can say. Like, it's not the referee that screwed us over. It's not bad luck where, you know, we created this plethora
No.
of really good
It looked
goal-scoring
like listless.
opportunities, but the
Yeah.
ball just didn't want to go in because, yeah, you referred to earlier, like we hit the crossbar a few times, but it's like
It still
Yeah,
didn't feel
but
like we deserved anything. In fact,
they
like,
weren't.
yeah.
Yeah, I feel like we didn't create any quality chances. I feel like other than that good shot from Jetson in the first half that hit the woodwork, and that's like, I mean, can you call it a chance? It's a long range effort.
It was shot
It's
from
like-
distance. Yeah.
we
Well, there was
don't-
the one
yeah.
header that Cheeto hit off the post on a set piece, which damn well should have been, and the solid one at the end. But again, it doesn't matter. Like given the way that
Yeah.
we were so infrequently creating chances and
Yeah,
just sort of
usually.
spamming the Masuaku cross, like yeah.
But like usually, Sinan, we create some one-on-one opportunities, right? Like Rafa goes one-on-one with the goalkeeper and like either scores or the goalkeeper saves it or somebody saves it off the line. I think there was one chance like that maybe where I think Rafa found Chiro and a defender cleared it with a sliding tackle. I feel like that's the only decent chance we like quality chance we
Yeah.
kind of created. But like it was just all so lacking.
Haphazard and
Yeah.
yeah. By the way, I don't know. So the reason I keep looking over there is Fener is playing Samson, which is relevant to us, and Samson's just gone down a man. It's the 77th minute. I never would root for Fener, but I guess this is a scenario where we kind of right because if Samson loses this, then we're still potentially only 3 points behind them if we win the game in hand. I mean, it's weird to even be thinking about that stuff, though, because like you said, and the reason that this is a low point, and the reason... I forget how you just phrased it. We fell off the rails, right? The cart fell off the rails. The reason it feels like that isn't even... Yes, sure, we played poorly, we got another loss, all of that, but then also the Felix injury.
Yeah.
Talk about injury to insult, right? Like,
Yeah.
rather than insult to injury. That really, like... Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that was like our one positive, right? The season is like we've got our back line, we've got our back pair for the future sort of set in place.
Yeah, and Emirhan and Felix were the pairing, I think, in every single big win this season other than the Super Cup. Now we got a big match coming up after the international break, and we don't have our ideal pairing, right?
We don't.
Oh, you know what? Maybe I think Felix might have missed the Fenerbahce derby. Didn't we play Tayyip and Emirhan against them? I think we did.
Yeah, which was yeah. No, and look, I think we're kind of it's one position we're theoretically covered in, but it's a bummer just because that's a strength that you want to be building on, and you want him to get more sort of settled into that position, right? He's sort of a leader on the pitch, and you want him to become that kind of leader among his peers. So. Yeah, whatever. Back to the comments. We've got Carlito. Oh man, he said something in Dutch. Goedenavond
Good evening.
allemaal.
Good evening, all.
Goedenavond allemaal. Try your best, Sinan. Scrape your throat for this one. Oh, I didn't use my throat. I can't even imagine. Oh, I don't even want to imagine how I would. This is classic Beşiktaş. Grey Wolf says, when they have the opportunity to take advantage in better table position, they fudge it up. When they have the opportunity to, I'm trying to figure out how I can rephrase this for you. When they have the opportunity to to move up into a better position in the table, they fudge it up. Yes, it does seem that way.
This kind of reminds us of the November month, because if you remember going into November, we came out of a really difficult schedule, and November on paper looked easy, and we were like, oh, we're gonna get all these points now in November and it's gonna be great. And it feels exactly the same now, because 3 weeks ago we were like, oh, let's get 9 points before the derby, and now we're left with three out of 9.
It's like, not only is that correct, Con, it's like a perfect mirror reflection in that, towards the end of the good run with Gio, it was like we were kind of shithousing results a little bit, but we were like, it's okay, we're missing a piece or whatever. Like, we'll iron it out in this next match. And then the next match was another step in the wrong direction. And then we started losing results we should have. And then it's sort of, so yeah, I mean, what we have to hope for now is that it doesn't snowball and become exactly the same in every way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this is exactly how it turned for Gio. So, knock on wood. But it's not what we want to happen. Carlito, we are in session, gents. We are indeed. Group session.
Hashtag group
Emre
therapy.
Tunç. Emre Tunç, first time commenter. Keep coming. Keep them coming, sir. Welcome. He says, in order to be judgmental about the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, we gotta let him choose his own players that fits into his playing style. We have to support Ole and give him enough time. Absolutely, Emre
Yes.
Tunç. And since you're the first-time commenter, I'm guessing maybe you're somewhat new to the pod, given the nature of that comment. Because, yeah, that for us that goes without saying. Neither one of us would ever argue that we need to
Of
throw
course.
the baby out with the bathwater.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, there's only so much miracles Ole can do with this team. We've seen this team, and we were praising Ole for being able to turn things around and get the train back on tracks with 95% the same material that his predecessors had. And now it's just kind of come to a screeching halt. But we can't be too harsh on Ole for this. There's some things I think you can criticize, like his substitutions. I would have preferred to see Kenny come on straight away, or hell, start. But
There are two tactical sort of formation things that I would criticize him about, and one is we need more Kenny and less Rashica, and two is like maybe don't take João Mario off first every time. But besides that, it's almost like, considering where we've come from, it's like nitpicking, because these aren't huge things that are like that's why we've lost.
And we also
Clearly,
don't know.
right?
I see that maybe João Mario felt a little bit of pain in his hamstring or something, or in his ankle, or we don't know, right? Like,
he is one of the older players on the team.
there
Yeah,
might
maybe
have
it's
been a reason why he came off, because I didn't see a reason on the pitch necessarily to take him off first. I would have gone for Ox then. At that point we were already a man up. I think you can afford to take Ox off and maybe play a little bit more risk. I think it was weird what he did, because he put on Mucci, and then Mucci started on the right, and then he took off Tayyip, and Rashica kind of went to right wing back, I feel. But then it still left the left wing with just Masuaku. And he had taken João Mario off as well, so that was kind of, I don't know, it felt a little weird. Clearly it didn't come off well, whatever he had intended. But at the end of the day, I think none of us here are really blaming Ole. I think we're all looking at the players, and it's the players that deserve the bulk of the blame here. Because how can you, as a player, come back to Istanbul now, face the fans, and how do you do that after losing against 9 men? And it's not like it's not like it was 9 men in the last 10 minutes they got 2 red cards. No, you've been playing for over an hour against 10, and you had 30 minutes against 9. So I don't know. If I was a football player playing for a big team like Beşiktaş, getting the money that I'm getting, I feel ashamed, and I hope they feel ashamed, and I hope they are going to work really, really hard now these next 2 weeks. And they're going to come back with a vengeance in that next game.
And what pisses me off is they'd finally started filling the stadium again. I hope we didn't lose the momentum in that sense. But yeah, I mean, I fully agree with everything else you said there for sure. Grey Wolf Club attitude and culture need to fundamentally change. We need a winning attitude. The team does not have that killer finishing instinct. They don't provide constant pressure as a big club. No, it's true, and it's like it's like someone just turned off the faucet. These last couple of weeks. It's really disheartening, and you hate to think that a guy that a guy like Svensson, what he provides is so consistent, and he's like a kind of engine for you, and perhaps even in a way. it has a knock-on effect as far as like seeing a guy working like that can motivate you to want to sort of match that effort, perhaps, you know. So that, I mean, and that's why you want professional players, right? You want good behavior to be mimicked. But the idea that one player come, I mean, there's really no excuse for the extent to which we've fallen off. It's hard to watch.
But you know what it also is, Sinan? I think one of the, I've said, I feel like I'm beating a dead horse at this point, but one of the biggest weapons in modern day football are set pieces. And it happens often that you play, like, it's gonna happen. You play 50 odd games a season, sometimes 60. You're gonna have matches like yesterday where it's just a collective off day and you don't play well. But at the end of the day, sometimes you can win those matches, those ugly wins, and usually you win them with a shitty goal, or with a goal on a corner, or a goal on a set piece. But when, like us, you're so incompetent or impotent on set pieces, that is one massive weapon that we lose already. And it yesterday, if you score minute 55, minute 60 on a set piece, and you make it 1-1, I think that turns the game around. I think then you can get a little bit of a boost in the team, a positive flow, and then maybe you find to win against 9 men. You probably would. Yeah. But the problem is, like, it's also just defending against us is not a big deal, because if you can just close up the center, which is what Konya did. If you noticed that yesterday, Konya focused everything on the center because they know that's where Rafa operates. So they closed down the center as much as possible, and they left us on the wings. They left us open on the wings. They said, come, Masuaku, go ahead, cross the ball. Go ahead. It's no problem. We have the confidence that we can clear that ball. And okay, once or twice it fell to Simi. But then also, it's a kind of a gamble from Konya, where they're like, we have the confidence in the fact that we can clear 90% of the balls, and the 10% we won't clear, they don't have the quality to convert. Yeah. So they can afford...
any statistical analysis, right? Like, you'll see how many percentage of their goals have they allowed in the air? How many goals have they scored aerially, right? Like, it all looks bad for us, no matter how you...
Yeah, and that is just a big issue for us this season. And also, I thought last season, but to a lesser extent, but second half last season, we scored very few set-piece goals as well. First half of the season, we scored a bunch with Omar Colley. But yeah, it's just something we really need to work on in the summer. We need to make sure you bring in a good set-piece specialist, and then we need to make sure that we bring in 2-3 guys that can create chaos on set pieces. If you have that, it changes a lot. Even if you play a really bad game like yesterday, you might still be able to shithouse a good result. But we just don't have that.
We really don't. And so, I guess if we're going to break down like their goal that they scored on the set piece, was quite bizarre. Did you like? I don't. So Tayyip is the one covering the guy. Somehow, I still don't like. He shouldn't. You can't put this on his injury or whatever. Like, he's behind the guy for some reason, and just kind of lets the ball drop. I think
he's just caught on the back foot again. It was a quick free kick, I think.
They did take it a little too quick. Like, none of our players seemed to be in position. They were complaining that it was taken so fast.
Yeah, but that's a lack of concentration, and we conceded a goal like that earlier this season against Frankfurt. You need to be switched on. You can't just opposition earns a free kick and switch off. You can't do that, and that's again, that's on the players. There's nothing Ole can do about that other than shout from the sideline. But it's on the players who are napping.
Yeah. No, and I don't know if the ref blew his whistle, or if they played just kind of quickly played on without waiting for the whistle. I have no idea. But given that they didn't make much of a stink about it afterwards, I'm assuming even they realized that they needed to do better defensively. Anyway, Con 2.0 says, "Hey guys, I'm mentally over after yesterday's game." Yeah, we all are.
Yeah.
Grey Wolf, I think Ole kind of slipped yesterday when he stated this is what we have to play with, then immediately corrected himself what the team needs to do. He said, "It's all my fault. When I watched the last 2 games, I wore a Beşiktaş jersey and it was the most embarrassing losses of the season. Don't worry, the jersey's locked away in a dark dungeon." So is that the curse? Is that the curse? Some people are saying that we not won with the red one. I was excited. I was finally going to get to wear the red jersey on air because I didn't have it in time for the. I thought it was a one-time deal.
It might have been that Knicks beanie you were wearing, man.
I thought we won one after the first time, but I'm not wearing it today.
Yeah, I noticed. I'm not wearing it anymore. that beanie is banned from now on, man.
I guess, but I swear we won after the first time we wore it, man. Damn it! I'm gonna have to do some research. But if I ever feel compelled to wear it again on a bad hair day or something, I'll check into that first. Where was I? Grey Wolf said that. Edim Gul, good to see you back, sir. He goes, "Hey guys, I hope no one is blaming Ole in this live." Yeah, we're not. We're not gonna do that. Kantupono, Ole is not the one for blaming, but we have to discuss subs. I mean, what the hell is Jetson supposed to do? 9 versus 11. Yeah, I guess we kind of already tackled that one.
But
Rashica's is like an automatic 10.
Yeah, when it comes to subs as well, I said this in the summer. We need a battering ram, like a second or third striker, someone we can bring off the bench when we're down a goal late in the match, or it's level late in the match, and you're looking for a winner. You need someone like that. We don't have a single player like that. Whether it's a striker or it's a Marwan Fellaini type midfielder who is good in the air and who can make penetrating runs and add presence in the box. We don't have that at all. That is one of the biggest flaws in our squad building. Whoever built this squad, whether it's last summer or the summer before, not having that in your squad, I think, is one of the biggest crimes against Beşiktaş that has been committed in recent seasons. Just not having that. That's big miss.
I just had a thought, Con, and we do have to remember. So going into the season, we were optimistic because they had so much work to do. They had to get rid of so many players and bring in, and so we knew that it was a somewhat incomplete project, right? So there's that on the one hand. Like, we all know that this is going to take a couple more transfer windows. Like, the lack of depth is somewhat profound, right? Like, we need a whole B team, basically. I don't know how you account for that. Obviously, that's not a one-window deal. But, and this is where I'm not disagreeing with you, Con, at all, actually. If you know you're limited like that, like, why stack so many central midfielders and not get a solid backup striker, right? Like, why not have a backup fullback? Like, you can expect some holes. Like, I would almost rather, instead of having like 10 options at central defender, maybe we'd have one less and be in a slight crisis now because of injuries. Because we were, if there's 3 central defenders injured, you should have a lack there. Whereas one fullback is injured and we're playing central defenders out of position and stuff because we don't have a single. Like, Onur, I think we can all agree. And again, this is not a criticism of Ole. Because I will never cede that playing Tayyip there is worse than playing Onur Bulut at right back. Because about playing a man down.
I think instead of keeping Onur, we should have probably kept Tayfur. Because Tayfur can play left back, he can play right back, and he can play in a plethora of different positions.
Fully agreed.
And I'm not saying that Tayfur is the big answer or anything, but I just think
not at all, of course. But he would have been a better one.
Yeah,
than,
I think he made. I think he made more sense for squad depth.
Yeah, that's for sure. By the way, Fenner got 8 minutes of extra time.
I know,
we always get screwed on that.
4 minutes of that is already gone, man. I think you're behind.
I know. I don't think they're gonna get it. Samson seems to be doing pretty well. Which is not good for us. Like, it's hard for me to put in my mind that we kind of want Fenner to get a result here or whatever. Okay. 1 point we can make up.
On multiple fronts, by the way, because if they win, they keep
the season's over.
Which keeps more pressure on Galatasaray in our next match, so it makes it more difficult perhaps for them. And if
maybe if they feel like they've already won it, if Fener drops points, and Galatasaray basically already won it, so maybe they'll rest on their laurels next week.
Who knows? Who
Anyway,
knows?
yeah, I know. It's all speculation at this point. Anyway. Kantu Bueno, Ole is not the one. We did that. Edim Gul back. I'm scared to go to school tomorrow because I have to listen to my brainless Gala and Fener fan friends.
My
only advice to you is don't be friends. Don't be friends with those assholes. No, I'm kidding. It must be hard in Turkey, right? You can't avoid it.
It gets much easier once you get out of school. You know, that you just pick your friends and you just
pick and choose your friends more carefully. Exactly. Yeah. Carlito, Grey Wolf, haha, with this lack of performance, we need all the anti-voodoo, black magic, Nazar deterrent there is. We're cursed. Oh, because they're talking about the jersey thing. Khan 2.0, we are cursed indeed. Did Kartal quit Beşiktaş because of the Konya match? No, just hiking. Don't worry. Rashica is a random dude who can run. Yeah, that's basically where we are.
I mean, he covers.
He can, like, in the most literal sense.
But it's like, I mean,
but not very fast.
I think if he was fast, he'd actually be a very good player. If he just had speed, but he doesn't. Like, if he would just check, like, either be a really good crosser or
like
be a
two of those four
really
boxes. Yeah.
No, just one. If he's a really good crosser, he'd be a good player. If he was really fast, I think he'd also be a good player. But the problem that he's neither, the issue, you know, the fact that he's neither makes him very, very bang average. That's why I don't see the point in. That's why I don't see the point in not starting Kenny. And you can start both of them, but I think we need to start starting Kenny. Because, I mean, Kenny coming off the bench shows more than Rashica does in, you know, Kenny shows more in 30 minutes than Rashica shows in 60.
Yeah. So far, that's
undeniable. I'm not saying Kenny is the answer and is the be-all, end-all. He has, you know, he has to develop. He has a lot to improve still. He's a diamond in the rough. But, yeah, he has at least something. And that Rashica doesn't have. He has speed. He has ability on the ball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You talk about upside for sure. Yeah. And unlike Semi, he's not coming in looking fully like uninterested. So there's no reason not to be playing him more, in my opinion. Anyway.
It's over 0-0, by the way.
Yep, it is. So the season's over. Galatasaray has won.
Well, 6 points now. I mean, if we beat Galatasaray, then it's 3 points if Fener win, right? So it's not over, but
do they have a game in hand? Is that? Let me double check that. That's actually
have a
worth.
Game less. Galatasaray have one game more.
Look at that. So they could have Fener could have 65 points, and that'd be 6 points back. Is what you're saying. Meanwhile, Samsun is 7 points ahead of us. With that, we have a game in hand, so it could be 4, which is not insurmountable. Granted, because we have.
It's not, but like when you can't even beat 9 men, you know, if you can't even beat 9 men, how? I mean, yeah. But at the end of the day, I don't think it matters all that much whether we finish, as long as we finish in the top 4. But at this point, you know, something. I think
we have 10 more matches.
I think somebody said something about Eyüpspor like 2 weeks ago, and I dismissed it. I was like, they're not gonna catch up to us. But at this point, like, we somehow managed to fuck that up already.
We're level on points. I mean, granted, we have that game in hand, but it's definitely not like we can't just like a foregone conclusion, right?
Since we're still on the game anyway, let's get these stats out of the way so we don't have to do that later.
Yeah, I was gonna suggest the same. So we had 66% of the ball to their 34%, which, I mean, we had 2 extra players.
Yeah.
Of course we did. Yeah. XG 2.63. I'm surprised. I feel like all of our shots came from distance, but maybe it just accumulates.
Yeah, desperation, lots of desperation.
When you have 26 shots, I guess it accumulates. Jesus.
Yeah,
they had a 0.69 XG.
I think if it would have been 11 versus 11, they would have won this game easily anyway. You know, they were. I feel like they were kind of kicking our ass the first 25 minutes. So,
they were. And I remember thinking maybe we're trying to like tire them out, letting them sort of press high and stuff. But like, I mean, we were giving them real chances. So that was playing a dangerous game if that's what you're doing.
I mean,
Anyway,
once they were reduced to 10, I don't think they had. I think Mert had to make like one decent save, but like, they score on a set piece. It's our Achilles heel, both offensively and defensively. It's our major Achilles heel. We suck on defending set pieces and we suck on offensive set pieces. It's just such a big issue in the team. But
it is.
Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and Erling Moe had eliminated that weakness defensively recently.
Seemed like
but,
it.
This is just, I think also last week a little bit, it's just whether it's the team or players switching off. I mean, last week, I think Emirhan probably made a mistake on the first goal, I think. And then, of course, the team collectively switched off on the second. And then on this one, I feel like it's another collective switch off. It's not just Type; it's like the entire team switching off on a quick free kick. And I mean, I don't know what the coaching staff can do about that. Other than shout at these guys, but like this is stuff this shouldn't be happening. I think the problem here is a lack of leaders on the pitch. So
For sure.
There need to be extensions of the coaching staff on the pitch who are shouting at everyone to keep them focused. And I think that's not something you can put on the coaching staff. That's just something that this squad lacks, and that's on the people who built this squad, not the people in charge now.
Yeah, and which, granted, was always going to be an incomplete project. Like again, but some of these holes you can't operate like this with like one striker, for example. Anyway, so we had 26 shots to their 7, only 5 on target, which
pathetic
is crazy.
Yeah.
They had 1 on target. We had 4 big chances.
That's pathetic too.
To their 2.
4 big chances against 9 people. 4.
I know. I mean, but I don't even remember them. Is why I made that. I presented it like that.
Yeah.
They missed 1 of their 2. We missed 4 of our 4. But what 4 big chances could they be talking about?
I don't know. I think there's the
Nobody
Chiro
can work
one.
that out.
Probably Chiro had that one chance on the Rafa pass. Maybe the semi header.
Oh, the header
Maybe?
on the post that Chiro put into.
And there's another header on a corner from Semi. I think maybe, I don't know. I honestly don't know. It's hard to think of. Let us know, guys, in the comments if you can think of the 4 big chances we supposedly had in this game.
Yeah, seriously. I'm curious.
Yeah.
What they've cooked up for that. Okay, we completed 400. Wow, almost 500 passes at a 90% rate. 458 to their 211.
Yeah,
at a 77% rate.
You have to.
They had
men
9 men.
more, so
yeah.
It's a little easier to pass the ball around.
A lot of space. Yeah, especially in the back.
Less pressure on the ball, let's say.
Yeah. They committed 6 fouls. We committed 8, which is interesting. I might as well shift over to discipline. We had 1 yellow card. They had 2. Oh, sorry, no. They had 1 yellow card. We had 2. They had 2 red cards. We had 0. Yeah. And then offsides. They were offsides twice. We were offsides 3 times. We had 12 corners to their 4. Again, we had 2 extra players. So the idea that we were on their side of the pitch should not be surprising to anyone. I'll do the duels.
Look at these duels, Sinan.
Yeah, 34 to 33.
We lost the duels.
We barely won.
Yeah, but
we lost. That's right.
We lost the duels against 9 men.
9 men.
That just shows you. I mean, they just wanted it so much more.
Yeah, I mean, and I guess one bit of context we should have mentioned is that they are a side fighting against relegation, so they do have a lot to play for. But I mean, it's not like we don't. So I don't know. So yeah, they won the duels. They won the ground duels, 54 to 46. They had 20. They won 21. We won 18. They won. We won the aerial duels, which is ironic, but just barely, 15 to 13, 54% to their 46. We both completed 5 successful dribbles, which is ironic. That was 71% of their attempts. Yeah. But we only completed 50% of ours, so we were 5 of 10. They were probably 5 of
I don't know.
8 or something like that.
But Sinan,
7.
one positive takeaway from this match: 2 yellow cards for us, but not a single one to any of the players that were a yellow away from a suspension. So Chiro, Mert, and who was the other one? I don't even remember. But none of the players that were a yellow card away from a suspension got booked. So we should be at full strength in the next match against Galatasaray in the derby, other than Felix Udukai. Minus Felix Odukai, who will be out injured. So let's hope that in these next 2 weeks, Gabriel Paulista continues to build up his match fitness. Emirhan's going to be focused. Svensson comes back. Svensson was still out for this game. And I think that is one of the few positives we can take away from this game, is that we didn't lose anyone to a suspension. We lost an important player to an injury, but we didn't lose any players to suspension. So I think that's the only positive to take away from this game. I can't think
and
of
we're sort of
one.
theoretically covered.
Yeah,
hey, what's the story with Necip? Is he okay now?
I mean, he should be. I don't know if he's back. I don't think he's back in team training yet. I think he's just running separately at the moment. I'm not sure.
I mean, either way, we'll be covered. You know, we'll play Emirhan and Gabriel Paulista, I'd imagine.
Let's hope so. And let's hope that Gabriel Paulista can finish out the game and doesn't have to get substituted off again. I think today, this game was a tactical reason why he got subbed, but
we got some comments to address. This is getting... All right, let me hit the comments, because this... Yeah. I kind of almost want to know how we're going to reply to this. What am I doing right now? Comments. Okay. Oh, crap. Sorry. I hate when it does that. Okay, like sometimes it blacks out and you have to close them and open them again. Anyway. We are cursed indeed. Did Cartel quit? Carlito watch Rashica shine. Khan, Rashica's a random dude. Carlito says, watch Rashica shine for his national team.
Yeah, and get injured.
I mean, I don't know.
And get injured.
Yeah, maybe.
But that might not be the worst thing in the world. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Finally see Kenny start. Kenny's called up. Watch Kenny get injured.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Don't say it. Grey Wolf, there's something up with the players from the beginning. Their faces and body language looked defeated. Misery, depression. They checked out of the game. Hold on, before we reply, I want to read a few comments of that variety, because they're all kind of related, and then we can reply. Everyone knows how to play Beşiktaş now due to the team's deficiencies. Dennis says, I'm so tired of seeing veteran players. When a new coach arrives, they push themselves for a few games. Then they can't carry on. Our games look like charity games. So this is all sort of mentality stuff. There was another one that was related. Ende says, I lost all my interest with the team. Something going on behind the ... I think he means behind the scenes. Mendes keeps sending his players to us, taking our money for years and years. Ender says, are these players getting paid? Carlita says, the fact that there was no response after Paulista was hit is telling, I must agree. Do you expect a response from Adali and the fans going to the training ground? And then Ender says, I don't believe in Adali anymore. So the reason I want to read all of those is because it's like a stream of thought from our listeners, where they go from a fairly negative, like something's wrong with these guys mentally. Are they not getting paid? Right. So all those questions start to emerge. And then finally, we have Ender saying he doesn't believe in Adali anymore. And people kind of pointing the finger there as far as the player's mentality. Now, what do you think about all that, Con?
I think it's pointless to blame Adali. I think it's pointless to blame Adala. I think it's pointless to blame Ole. I think the only people you can blame here are the players. I definitely think there's a mentality issue in this squad. And I also agree with what somebody else said, that most teams have figured out how to play us. I think, I said it earlier, I think if you lock up the middle, you eliminate so much danger, because the majority of our danger comes from the center. If you look at a lot of our goals this season come from the middle, because a lot of them come through Rafa. And our wing play isn't good. So if Rashica is having a day like yesterday again, and Masuaku is having, if Masuaku reverts to his high crossing game, then it's pretty easy to defend against Beşiktaş, even 9 against 11. All you have to do is lock down Rafa, and I feel like they did that pretty effectively yesterday. And that's something we've talked about in the summer. It's something we talked about in January, that it's very important, with Kenny Arroyo and stuff coming in, you bring in players that will require extra attention from your opponents. Because if you don't have that, if you have players of the level of Rashica, then they just put two guys on Rafa and they block the center, and it's easy against Beşiktaş. If you notice, all the games this season where we got a good result, I would argue we because we've had some nice highlights this season. We had the Super Cup win against Galatasaray, the 5-0. We had the 4-1 against Athletic Club. We had the 1-0 away win against Lyon. We had the 1-0 home win against Fenerbahce. And we had the recent win against Trabzonspor. I think Beşiktaş, when they play against a team that doesn't that wants to play and gives away some space, I think Beşiktaş are dangerous. The problem is that when we are playing against teams who, yesterday for the first 27 minutes, they were just much hungrier, and it wasn't the case of they were parking the bus or anything. But when we're playing against the low block, when we're playing against teams that park the bus, we don't have anything to unlock those low blocks. We just don't. The only thing we have is Rafa and João Mario, really. And João Mario was gone at that point, and Rafa wasn't having a good game, and they were locking him down well. It's just, we are too one-dimensional. I think that's the biggest issue. Beşiktaş is a very one-dimensional team in attack. And I feel like recently under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, we had adopted maybe a couple of more dimensions, and we were scoring goals in different situations. We were creating more chances, and it just feels like the last 2 matches that's gone completely out the window, and we've reverted back to like I said, the factory default settings.
Contra Bueno adds, no, they're getting paid, that's for sure. Now, I wasn't going to address the people saying that they weren't getting paid, and I think now I will, because now we have people saying, oh, they are getting paid. I don't like the speculation either way, in that if them getting paid or not was such a hot button issue and was like off and on the way that people talk about it in our fan base, they would be used to it to some extent, that they'd be like, okay, I'll get paid next week, whatever. It wouldn't have the impact that people sort of claim it does. So either it's super normalized, they're paid, they're not paid, they're paid, they're not paid, and it's like they're kind of just going to get over it at some point, or, right, like they're getting paid. and it's...
I'd argue, Sinan, after that display yesterday, maybe they shouldn't get paid.
Yeah, maybe they should have. Someone should withhold their salary.
What is that? I think if you work a normal job and you perform that badly at your normal job, I don't think you have a job anymore.
You're probably out of a job, yeah. Especially because it's not the first time we've seen it from a number of these guys too. So, but so I think that just about covers that line of thinking from our listeners, and I think we're all sort of on the same page. Now, to go back a little bit, where was I? Grey Wolf. Why is Kenny not starting? And so that's another line of questioning our listeners sort of went down. And then he followed it up. It shows how important Svensson is to the team. He's the only one to show fire and fight on the team, aside from Jetson. Yeah, I feel like I talked about that a bit. Everyone knows how to play Beşiktaş, and then, we already covered that. I think we've already covered why Kenny, we all think Kenny should be starting too at this point. Deniz says, Con tu bueno, the red jersey always means unexpected idiotic loss. It does seem to be following that red shirt around. I remember
Dynamo
before
Kiev.
the match, people were saying, yeah. And it's fun. It's a shame because I typically like our red shirts quite a bit, but it's not. Yeah, we don't have a great track
I'm
record in
not-
them. I
I'm
wonder
not
if we have
super keen on
stats.
this
I'd like
one,
to see
actually.
numbers.
I see.
Yeah, I'm not
you're
so big
wearing
on
it,
this one
but I don't like the. I don't like the type of red it is. You know, I really liked, for example, the one
That's
against Dynamo
more maroon.
Kiev. There's more Bordeaux.
the darker.
Really, I
Yeah.
really like that one. Then you have the one from the 2012-2013 season. I think, people will remember that for Manuel Fernandes, probably. I think that was a really gorgeous one.
Yeah,
I mean,
that was a great
the
one.
2002-2003 was kind of more that
With the
type
black
of red
and
that
the
was
white.
kind of nice, but I don't know. But I do want to come back to that Kenya Arroyo thought for a second there. Why he isn't starting? I think we here all agree we'd like him to be starting. I think we'd all like to see Kenya Arroyo start, but I also think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is kind of protecting the player and easing him in.
See, that's what I was gonna say. Someone else followed up. They said exactly that. Who was that? That was see if I can find it. I think it was Ural.
Yeah, I mean,
They said they're protecting him from the fans.
Not just that, Nasser also pointed this out, I think, in our group chat, which, by the way, you can join if you become a member. Click the join button or go to patreon.com/podcast, become a VIP member, and you will gain access to our exclusive group chat where we talk Besiktas 24/7 with people all over the world: Australia, Canada, the United States, soon Thailand, because one of our members from the group chat is moving to Thailand soon. All over Europe, obviously Turkey. So people from all over the world. I think we even have somebody from Russia, Mexico, Poland. Keep on going. Join the group chat, become a VIP member. You also get nice badges next to your name in the live chat and stuff like that. And it's a nice way to support us if you like what we do. So give that a chance. But Nasser, who is a Manchester United supporter and found Besiktas because he's an Ole Gunnar Solskjaer fan, but he's quickly becoming a Besiktas fan too now. He's already saying we.
That's right.
So he's becoming one of us. We sucked him into to this wonderful fandom. Which
He was like, they sold us a dream.
It
They
is a
sold
wonderful
us.
fan.
I was like, yeah, you are one of us now, sir.
It is
Welcome.
but
by the way, it was Khan 2.0 who said, I believe it's due. It's they're not playing. They're not starting him in order to protect him from negative reactions from the fans.
Not just the negative reactions from the fans. I think also just
from the way we're playing. Maybe
I think it's also just a general thing, protecting him. It's a young player, and sometimes young players need to be eased in. And this is something Nasser said in our group chat. That is what he also did at Manchester United. He eased young players in. He didn't just throw them in straight away. It took them some time. I mean, we're seeing the same thing now with Alan Ricardo, of course, who didn't make the squad again. And I hope he starts making the squad. And actually, in the pre-match press conference, Ole did address that. He did say he's a technically very gifted player, but he has some catching up to do. And we will be seeing more of him on the pitch in the future. Nasser did point out that at Manchester United, he also was the one to ease in the younger players. He gave a lot of young players their debuts, including Mason Greenwood. I don't think he gave what's his name? Come on, he went to Aston Villa now. The big darling. Forget his name. I don't think he gave him his debut, but I think he did kind of launch him.
His name?
Alex Hunter. Come on, Alex Hunter from FIFA. What's his name? Come on, I forget his real name. I'm getting too old. But anyway, so Ole has a reputation of being very good with young players, but I think being very good with young players also includes knowing when to bring a young player, and especially now. things are getting a little bit difficult with these back-to-back losses. Maybe you're not doing a young player a favor necessarily by just throwing him in there and letting him sink or swim. Especially someone like Keno Arroyo, which is a big investment from the club. I've pointed it out in the past, 9.2 million euros for 80% of his rights. We've only bought 50% so far. But if we are going to go for the full 80, it's 9.2 million euros. It's a big investment for a club like us. And I think it's important for us to not just let him sink or swim. We need to be...
We don't want to do what we did to Semi.
Yeah, in a way. Yeah, I mean, Semi did kind of swim, but now he's sinking.
For a minute.
And that's just the thing with young players. Young players will fluctuate more than a player in their primes. So I think we all want to see more of Kenny Arroyo, especially because Rasica is playing poorly. But I don't think you can be angry at Ole either, because I think at the end of the day, I think he's doing what he believes is best for the player, and we can only applaud that, right?
And in answer to your question, Udal, I don't expect the fans or Serdar Adali to go to the training ground or anything. I don't think we're in crisis to that extent, based on the one result. Although obviously, we'll see how things go for the next few weeks. Back to the comments, we have where was I? Dennis BVD says Umut Nair was that type. Talking about what you were talking about, Conrad.
I mean, I said it way back when he was still our player. I said he is the perfect third striker. He doesn't.
Yeah, I've been saying that for the longest time. Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't.
And by the way, he finishes his start with. We should have kept that guy for second or third striker.
He should have been a Beşiktaş player for 7 or 8 years. He should have been Mustafa. What Mustafa Pekdemek is what.
Doesn't he have an eagle tattoo?
I don't know.
Bring him back.
He is a Beşiktaş fan.
And he's just I've always been a proponent of it. I think he should
never let him go because he was on very low wages. I think he was making under 400,000 euros. He was
willing to stay.
And he wasn't, he was a type of player that was content being second or third choice, and he could come off the bench and he gave you presence in the box. That's somebody we should have kept, and we should have never let him go. And we let him go super easily. I don't understand why. Maybe he requested a transfer. Maybe he wanted to play more. I don't know, but
I doubt it, because remember he went to Fener and barely played.
Well, he didn't he go to Pendik first or something, and then had a really good
he had
season.
A good season. Yeah.
And then he went to Fener, I think. But I feel like that's one of the. That might sound
maybe
weird,
we could have loaned him out if that was what he wanted, But,
and it might sound weird.
I agree.
But I think
always
it's one of the
too.
biggest errors we've made in the last couple of years, letting him go, because it's not like he's a special player or anything, but he's a profile of player
domestic,
that you need,
cheap,
and he's domestic, exactly, and cheap, exactly. So while he might not be crazy talented, he is a profile that every team needs in their squad, and we don't have that right now.
You have to value squad depth, right? You have to value the kind of things, those features we were talking about, with salary and mentality and all that stuff. Depth is such a key part of really any sport in this year. I think we all realize the importance of it now.
Yeah, so, and this is for example, En-Nesyri, who plays for Fenerbahce. In my opinion, En-Nesyri is a better version of Umut Nair, but a very expensive version.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and with an ego and a demand to play a lot.
And of course, Umut Nair is never going to give you what En-Nesyri brings you, but En-Nesyri at the end of the day is technically a limited player.
He screwed them in Europe, man. He missed them in Europe
today as well. Missed some big chances. He's a really good battering ram. He's a good player when you're playing cross and inshallah, pumping the ball in the box, having a lot of volume.
It'd be great to play with Masuaku.
A big volume of crosses. Yeah, then you need people like En-Nesyri. And En-Nesyri will score you goals. And the same thing can be said about Umut Nair. Umut Nair is probably not going to score you as many as En-Nesyri does, but it's the same principle. And I think neither of them are marquee strikers. But you need someone like that in your squad. And we don't have it.
Con 2.0 says, please somebody just skip the time until summer. Let's just move ahead in time. We need Doctor Strange's Eye of Agamotto, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then Con 2.0 says, oh, come on. It's nothing. I went to school the day after the 8-0 match. He was talking to Edim Ghoul.
Me too.
Edim says,
I watched that game until the last.
What year was that? 8-0?
Final whistle. I turned it off, but I watched it until the final whistle, man. Like, don't turn that.
Was that
shit
2001?
off. 2007, I think.
7, yeah.
2001. Damn. See that?
Sorry. Because I wasn't in school. I was already out of school by 2007. I was trying to think if I had a good story like that, but no. 2001 was a championship year. Anyway.
2007.
Yeah, that sounds right.
But of course, for Can 2.0, it probably was a lot worse because, like, I think Can 2.0 lives in Turkey. So, he goes to school with only Fener and Galatasaray fans. Like, for me, it was a little bit different. Like, obviously it wasn't the Champions League, and all my friends knew I was a big Beşiktaş fan, so they all had a good laugh. But it's not the same, right?
Yeah, people I knew were like, "Hey, man!" They like sent me the score. Look what happened. It's like, oh, shut the fuck up. You know exactly what happened, you bastard, bothering me.
I remember
Edim Ghoul's clap. Go ahead.
I remember saying, like, man, it was the craziest fucking game, man. Like everything, like one goal, literally. They shot against one of our defenders' asses outside the box, and it ricocheted over the goalkeeper in. Yeah. Like everything went in. It was ridiculous. I still remember that.
It shouldn't have been that lopsided. Like, that was the hardest part to explain. Their first goal,
I remember, was came off a throw-in that should have gone to us, but John Arne Riese took the ball and threw it really quickly, and the referee didn't do shit, and they scored. Yeah. And our players were like, "Hey, that was our ball,"
What is that? Yeah.
I remember being so angry, man.
Edim Ghoul, his clapback, it was like the clapback heard around the world. This one affects us all, Edim. He says, when 8-0 happened, me and my friends weren't born yet. The idea that people that young are listening to us is like amazing. You're still so new to this world, man. You're already down this pipeline, listening to us commiserate over
he wasn't born
tragedy.
Yet. Jesus Christ, man.
Yeah, that's depressing.
Proper old. Yeah.
Con 2.0 says Mucci's chest pass to the goalkeeper in 3 meters in open position. That was 100% XG. You're right, and he got the pass. And all he had to really do was just make a weird contact, but just like put it on goal, and instead he just bounced to the goalkeeper.
And there was the ox head.
That was one good cross. We had like 3 good crosses, and we just blew those opportunities so poorly.
Yeah, it was just one of those games, man. One of those games where like, it's like the players didn't believe that they could score a goal. I was kind of like that, but in my playing career as a youth player, I was a right winger. But I could not score. I genuinely could not score. I remember this one time, like I was in the box at the far post, like Arca direct Larin, and a low cross was put in, and all I had to do was slide and make contact with it, and somehow I managed to like miss that ball. Like so, I kind of know what like that feels like, where you're like you just feel like I won't score. And it just feels like all our players yesterday had, I'm not going to score today. It's not happening.
Yeah, it's not happening.
I was really good at scoring goals. And so are our players.
Yeah, just like maybe you have a place in this roster.
Yeah.
Denny's BVD. So these guys are answering. Remember we asked like where did the XG come from? He goes, Mucci's chest, Immobile's blocked shot, Rafa's Rabona, maybe Mucci's shot or Semi's head. Yeah, was it? I think Cheater also had a header off the post. Maybe it was safe. Maybe it was blocked
or something. There was something like that in the first half, I believe. But...
Maybe it was Ox. Yeah, you're right. I think I even wrote that.
I don't remember, but
you're right.
Yeah.
And then so there's the paid stuff. Carlito, yeah, we did that. Okay, so this is a spicy comment we're gonna have to talk about probably. Con 2.0 said, I had thought that we should keep Rafa until that Rabona BS. It was purely disrespectful and unprofessional. Well, look, Con 2.0, I think you're kind of doing what you warned everyone not to do don't throw Ole under the bus. Don't throw Adala under the bus. Also, don't throw Rafa under the bus, my man, because Rafa is such a key player for who we are and what we're trying to do. It was a stupid play, no doubt, but it's not like he's ever done that before. It's not like
it's not like Quaresma didn't do weird stuff from time to time, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's right. That's how we get players of that quality, because they're capable of those brain farts that probably enable them to slip to us. But he's still so good that we shouldn't overlook like the rest. Grey Wolf, Masuaku had a long distance shot. Yeah, but Grey Wolf, that wouldn't contribute to XG much because it was like so far. He had actually, I think, 3 shots that were saved. Maybe one of them was off the post, but all of them were from outside of the box. They wouldn't provide much XG. Although I will say that it does accumulate. So the fact that we had 26 shots, eventually,
they all get like
mounts.
0.05 or 0.02 or something. Yeah.
So eventually, it's like, oh, there's almost one. After like the 16th shot zings wide. Anyway, Ender is back with slightly more positive comments here, more constructive, I guess you could say, which I always like. Oh, whoops, I skipped Grey Wolf. I'm just glad Ole didn't sugarcoat it. He basically said that it was shit and apologized to the fans. He was not happy. Hopefully, he will shake up the lineup and change some things. Yeah, and we've sort of already addressed that kind of sentiment already. Ender says maybe we should have played a 3-4-1-2 with Arroyo and Masuaku on the wings and Mustafa Semi as strikers. I actually thought maybe we were doing that with our halftime subs, that we were reverting to 3 back and then kind of like, because you mentioned it, Con, but yeah, it clearly wasn't that. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about tinkering that much. The 3-4-1-2. I mean, I always prefer having wingers up front. I mean, you can still play a 3-man back line, but then you can only have like 2 guys centrally.
Yeah,
we don't really have the personnel to do that.
I'm gonna be really harsh. I don't think it matters whether you play Chiro and Mustafa and Simi and Chiro, Simi and Mustafa. Right now, all 3 of them are playing like shit. And I don't think it matters much. I think playing 2 strikers at the moment is not a solution because I think all 3 of them haven't had a good season. I think Chiro from the 3 is still the best. I think limiting it to 1 striker because none of them are particularly good this season. I don't see any reason why to put a second player on the pitch from the kickoff that is not having a good season. I'd much rather than see Kenny Arroyo in the lineup. Like you have him in your lineup, but I'd like to see him just as an actual winger, not as a wingback, because I think if you're gonna give him more defensive responsibility as well, if we'd have like a Paulo Nuachu or anyone else, like a decent strike pairing, I'd be all up for it, but. Yeah,
I co-sign.
Yeah.
Where were we? Con 2.0. It's so valuable what you do. It's hard to be Beşiktaş fans, even in Turkey, let aside in foreign countries. Thank you so much, Con 2.0. And I actually have one fun story, Con, that you're gonna like. Con 1.0, I mean, and maybe 2.0. So my wife was doing a lesson for her colleague. She was filling in for her. She's working at a university lately. Anyway, something like that. And one of her students was a Turk. And he was like, I got to get out of here by 1. This was on Saturday. And so she knew that I was about to watch Beşiktaş. And he goes, oh, are you going to watch Beşiktaş? She goes, yes. They had a big, long chat about it. She mentioned, my husband's a huge fan. He does a podcast. Now they're here to hear me tell the story. They just got home. So basically, she didn't even know the name of the podcast, but she found it online and showed it to him. And he saw it and was like, oh, I already follow that. I've just recently subscribed to it. Apparently a friend of his recommended it to him. So
that's cool.
Yeah. I guess we've already like we're already the go-to for, if you're a gringo.
That's really cool,
I guess
man.
he's not a gringo.
I think that's really cool.
But so yeah,
that's
it was
awesome.
sort of a funny moment. It was like, oh, you already know me. If he's listening, if you're out there, hope you're doing well, sir. Keep practicing your English.
Come say hi, right?
Oh, this is a new angle, Con. What happened to the camera here?
Oh, that's not. They're not seeing that. Sorry, that's just something I'm doing.
Oh, okay. You're futzing around.
Yeah.
Back to the comments. I'll finish up here. So, Con just no, we just sent Umut away. Yeah, sort of derisively. Yeah, that's what we did. I just dared them to mock me, and they didn't somehow. Oh, he's talking about the 8-0 when he was a student. And then
probably
Yusuf
thought
says,
you were gonna go ape shit.
I know, yeah, exactly.
Energy mode.
I'm glad I was too old to go be a student by then. Although I did get, like I said, some pretty nasty like messages from friends who came across the score. Yusuf says, "Is it really worth watching without the most handsome Beşiktaş podcaster in the world?" Yusuf is really focused on how handsome Kartal is lately. Aren't you married, buddy? Like, don't you get... I feel like he keeps commenting on that stuff. Continuing, Umutin is dropped 6 eagle emojis. Where's the 7th, my guy? But anyway, welcome to the chat, man. Con 2.0, I can't understand the mood Rafa was in at that point. It was a to hell with you all moment, but still it feels disrespectful to me. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I wasn't like personally offended. I saw a lot of people react negatively to it. And yeah. I don't know. It didn't affect me that much.
I didn't take it personal.
Yeah. I mean, for me it's kind of like if you feel like that's something that's in your bag and you feel like you're good enough to do it and you try it, like, you know, not everything comes off. Like how many passes aren't successful, right? You don't sort of hyperanalyze each one. And sure, I mean, he was a little ambitious with the finesse of it all, but I don't know. Didn't affect me the same way that it seems to have affected a lot of other guys. Atiljan Malak, there's my guy, my serial optimist. Where you been? He goes, hopefully that chat with your wife wasn't long enough to make the student late for kickoff. No, I think they cut into class time to have it. So don't worry. And Ato says, sweet story though. Kudos to the team. Yeah, no, it's fun. Yeah, it was just fun to think that anyone who's a Beşiktaş fan here in New York, and obviously he's from Turkey, right? He's learning English there, so and all of that. But yeah, I mean, I love the idea that he's learning English and probably listening to us as a way to practice his English, hopefully. And if you are, keep it up. As you see, I have been kind of correcting the English in the chat, you know, which is just I also have taught English for much of my professional life now, so it's like a habit I can't kick. But so yeah, test them out. Put some messages there. I'll correct them for you. Some live error correction. But yeah, man, I don't know. We've hit up the chat. Is there anything you want to talk about, Con, besides all of that?
No, I don't think so. I was playing around with some graphical stuff. If you noticed.
Yeah, I saw you.
I was having some weird fuzzy stuff with my camera. I don't know. I think I need to bring in my computer for maintenance because it's been doing some weird stuff recently. It's been like shutting down randomly and stuff. And yeah, not something I want to happen in the middle of an episode. In the middle of an episode. So I've been very happy it hasn't happened yet. That could be pretty annoying.
No, Con 2.0 complimented me, so I have to read it. He says, "Wait a minute. So you were too young to be a student at 8.0. You mean too old? Damn, you look young, man." Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. I get that a lot. But I'm surprisingly old. I won't reveal my age on camera. I'll save that for another day. Maybe my birthday I can get
age reveal. Right?
Yeah.
All right. No, I think that'll cover it for this weekly group therapy session. Let's hope in 2 weeks' time it's gonna be a lot more full of joy and elation. But before that, however, we are going to record, Sinan, Kartal, and I, Kartel's actually
We have
going
a fun
on
episode.
Yeah, we're gonna record a fun episode. We're gonna do a tier list. So S, A, B, C, D, all the way down to I think F. We're gonna do a tier list of Besiktas players. And right now, the plan is for the last 25 years, so quarter century, because mainly we just want to keep it to players we actually saw. For Sinan and I, we saw, 25 years we've been watching Beşiktaş. Kartal, obviously, he's a little younger, so like he was kind of.
He might struggle with some of the names.
But we didn't want to go too far back because, I could tell you, okay, Feyyaz Uçar is S tier, but I didn't watch Feyyaz Uçar live, so I kind of feel funny about that. But let us know, guys, especially for the people of you who are members or are in the group chat. Let us know in the group chat if you do want us to include people like Feyyaz Uçar, Metin Tekin, Ali Gültekin, Riza Çalınbay. If you want Daniel Amokachi, Fadima Didas, stuff like that. If you want us to include those people in the S tier list, let us know. We're recording it on Thursday. It will be released during the international break, so there's a fun bit of content available during the international break. And we're going to put together our tier list inspired by the guys on Reddit, because they've been doing a tier list recently. And
I was going to say, yeah.
I've been watching and following the tier list, and I just been thinking to myself, what are these people doing? What are they smoking? So we're gonna make our own tier list. We're gonna make the best tier list. And that's what's coming up for the international break. But I would love some feedback from the members in our group chat. What you guys think we should do with it? Should we go with beyond the 25 years, or should we just stick to that 25 years marker? It's a perfect time to do that, right? Because it's 2025, so the last quarter century of Beşiktaş. Other than that,
that's right.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Please share with your friends, apparently one of you did with a student of Sinan's wife, so we appreciate that. Continue to do so. Consider hitting the join button. Consider joining us either on YouTube or on Patreon. Same benefits. Weekly podcast, VIP podcast, weekly VIP podcast. Last 2 weeks has been about roughly half an hour of extra content there. You gain early access to videos that will include, for example, the tier list. You will gain early access to that. You also gain access to members only live stream. So when going forward, and we have done this already with our recent expert insight videos, but for example, our deep dives on new transfers, our deep dives on new coaches. Hopefully we won't have to do that for a long time, but those types of videos, we will include a live chat section in that, and we will record those when possible live for the members. So there's all of that, but on top of that, of course, you gain badges on YouTube for the live chat, all that kind of stuff. Starts at 99 cents on YouTube. The Black Eagle VIP rank is $3.99 or €3.99. On Patreon, it's $1.99 because Patreon doesn't take as big of a cut. So consider becoming a member. But thank you all for watching and being a follower, being active in the chat. And thanks for following the Black Eagles podcast.
So stay tuned, folks. We do have a game time, I believe. So it was originally sort of penciled in for the 30th on Sunday, but we are going to be playing on the 29th of March on Saturday. Do we know exactly what time yet? Maybe that hasn't
8:30 local time.
Ooh, 8:30 locally in Turkey. So check your local listings as per usual. As far as the national team goes, I don't really have anything to say. I guess if there's any news, Emirhan Topçu has been called up. Mert Günok. That is all.
That's it.
From Beşiktaş.
But
which is a snooze fest, which means I'm probably not going to be watching these matches. Sorry to the super nationalistic folk out there. I know I should support our national side, but I just, I'm a Beşiktaş only kind of guy.
Is it really our national side, though? It always feels like it's only the Galatasaray and Fenerbahçe fans' team. To be fair, I think right now Semih not getting called up is justified. I think he doesn't deserve a call up right now. I think that's maybe an additional kick under the ass he might need to get off his ass.
Although you could argue that what's his name? He should have a little credit since Montella's been screwing around with him.
Samet Akaydin still getting called up every time. That's a little iffy. Ismail Yüksek getting called up despite only making like 10 appearances this season is also kind of iffy.
And given that Montella could theoretically be, I don't want to say blamed for Semi's dip in form, but certainly he had a role. That move where he brought him up and then left him back.
That was, but like, I think by now
kind of a turning point.
Semi should have probably.
He should have figured it out by now.
From that, right? Yeah.
But he might. Montella, if he was a honorable man, might have felt a little guilty about that and extended him a little bit of grace. But all right, doesn't matter. Anyway, point being, we don't really care that much about the national side here at the Black Eagles podcast. With that said, that's right. Stay tuned for more. We will be back, obviously, for the huge upcoming derby, which is, in fact, our next match. So stay tuned for that. Beyond that, now more than ever, it's so important that I say, let's go, Beşiktaş! Peace out, everybody! Let me get some shout-outs, folks. We've got Özkan, Zerzavati, Atilcan, The Bull, Malak, Paul, O'Connor, Nathan, Not a Bober Coach, David, The Finnish Kebab, Tristan Gray, Michael Berry, Umer, Gunal. Not so negative anymore. I was going to say Mr. Negative after the Marvel bad guy, but he's found a positive streak in him. Dara, the Irishman Hente, Mario 1 and the 2 and the 3, Vargas, Niall, Tariq, Sebastian, the not sporting director, Heinat, the Vigilante Turk, Nassar, Mr. Manu / Bestjam, and of course, the indubitable, indomitable, indefatigable, undefeated Dutch Eagle. Peace out, everybody. See you next time.